Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Jessica Pasternak. I'm your Council Commissioner. I'm also an Assistant Scoutmaster for a female troop up in the Bill Hart District and a crew advisor for a venturing crew in the Bill Hart District, and the National Youth Leadership Training sort of director for our council. So unit service and how to help scouts is sort of at the forefront of my mind. And being in the film industry, I now find myself with a lot of time on my hands because my industry has stopped. So I just wanted to sort of see what I could do to help units out there. You know, we've got a great commissioner team, but I wanted to kind of like see what else I could do to assist anybody or kind of ease everybody into this new uncharted world that we have going on, and just kind of help get some best practices being shared.
Great. Thank you for that. My name is Andrew Sisolak. I'm the Director of Field Service for our local Scout Council. So each of you are part of a local district. You have a district executive or staff professional assigned to your service area, your district geographic area, and I coach and manage that team of professionals. So I kind of have the operations piece for the council, unit service, those kinds of things. So excited to be here this evening. The impetus for tonight's kind of get together actually came from Jessica. So I don't know, Jessica, if you want to kind of tell your tale or share your story of how we got to where we are.
Sure, thank you. So I think prior to March 13th, we were all sort of going about our business and doing all of our things that we normally do. And then the world suddenly turned on us and we found ourselves in varying degrees of uncertainty in terms of how to move forward in the scouting program. I know myself, I was kind of thrust into the virtual world pretty quickly and became involved on the virtual level on a lot of different things from both unit council and unit district council and national. So I sort of have been doing a lot of research and kind of realized in talking to a lot of people that there might be questions that are answered at one level, but not at another. There might be questions that are afraid to be asked. There might be things that people just aren't quite sure about or things that they want to share. There's a ton of great things being done right now to move scouting forward. And so I sort of brought the idea to Andrew to say, you know, is this something that we could do, that we could just have more of an informal session in terms of, you know, how can we all just talk to each other? Because the wonderful thing about this platform is that we can all see each other and be in the same room from all over our huge area that we are in our council. So I wanted to bring to the table and just kind of make it really informal in terms of, you know, what can we help answer? What is it that we can then, if we don't have the answer right now, what can we find out for you? How can we give the utmost in unit service and kind of keep going with where we're at?
Okay, great. So we have several questions that people kind of emailed in advance. So I wanted to kind of cover a few of those. And then process-wise, what we'd like to do is, as you have questions, there should be a kind of raise your hand feature or be acknowledged feature, or you can use the messaging feature to type in your question. And Josh Bryan, who's kind of watching the backside of things, will help us acknowledge people and or relay questions to us so that we can work on answering them. So kind of the four buckets of questions that I got submitted in advance. We had questions about unit camping and meetings. When might they be able to resume in person, and what might that look like? We had questions about national and local council fees for 2021, and when we might have more information about that. We had questions about scout shops reopening, both the retail piece as well as potentially local council service centers. And then we had questions about summer camp operations. So I'd like to kind of cover those 4 bullet points because those were a lot of the questions that we received in advance. And then of course we'll open it up after that, or if you want to start typing in your question, if it doesn't fall into one of those 4 buckets, by all means you can do that. So I don't want to put you on the spot, Jessica, but if any of those bullet points, are there any you want to tackle, or would you like me to just take a stab at them and then we'll do the free for all together?
I think you should probably start and then I'll jump in.
Great, sounds great. Okay, summer camp information. So at least for our local council camps, Camp Cepho, Camp Whitsett, and Camp Emerald Bay. If you have a current reservation for your unit to attend camps, in the first couple weeks of camp, you have or will shortly receive some information about your current reservation. But the Cliff Notes version, Camp Josepho at this time will not be open or operating this summer. That has some rationale to do with coronavirus, but more to do with construction-related delays, getting our infrastructure reset up and refixed because we can't conduct construction during coronavirus and we're having trouble finding contractors and vendors to get that done. So Josepho operations will not be happening during the summer. Camp Emerald Bay has sent out notification to its week 1 registered units about cancellation of camp for week 1. You can anticipate additional information for Camp Emerald Bay and Camp Witsit reservations for the month of June. If you have a unit reservation for the month of June, you'll see information about cancellation of those weeks as well coming out shortly. So at this time, you have 3 options if you have an existing reservation during those sessions of camp that have been canceled. One, you can apply your current funds that you've submitted and reservation and move it to 2021. And there's actually a discount in place if you decide to do that. So your unit will receive a per person per scout discount if you decide to do that. 2, you can apply for or transfer your registration to our virtual camp option. We have a new program called TriCamp that you'll be seeing more information about shortly, where we have 11 merit badge clusters that are scheduled. And so it's virtual merit badge programming, as well as all sorts of other camp experiences that you would anticipate from a physical camp. And so there's a pricing and program model set for that. Obviously, it's significantly less than what it would be to physically attend camp because we're not feeding people, transporting people, those kinds of things. And then the final option is you can, of course, request a refund for your unit's reservation for camp if you're in those weeks of June that have been canceled. We're still somewhat optimistic that we will be able to open and operate camp on a limited basis and with certain restrictions in place and accommodations in place. And we should have more information as soon as we're able to articulate it. And it's all based on, obviously, state and local health department guidelines and guidance. So really, we're working with the health department to identify how we can operate, how we can deliver camp. And overwhelmingly, what we're hearing from our units is that they want to camp. They want to come if they're allowed to come. And the same thing for our scouting families. So that's kind of where we're coming from with camp operations. Regarding scout shops and offices, so I think if you look at the state's roadmap to reopening, for office operations, retail operations, we're talking more about getting into phase 3 of reopening before we're really able to physically open in the traditional sense. I have a 3-year-old who's my co-pilot, so I apologize for the background noise. And apparently we're playing doctor for everyone's benefit. So we're still probably a few weeks out from that point. What I have shared with my field staff team is if your unit has an order for supplies or merchandise that it needs, i.e. you need advancement items or you need materials for scouts that are bridging into your troop from Cub Scouts or things like that, go ahead and email your order to your district executive, and then I'll do my best to try and fill that order from our local inventory, and we'll make arrangements to deliver it or have a pickup done for you. But at this time, that's kind of your best option. Okay. Talk about that. Okay. National Council, local council fees, program fees, registration fees. You should anticipate a national registration fee increase for 2021. It will not be near as significant as the increase that happened in 2020, but I think we can confidently say we'll see a small increase for 2021. It's also safe to say that there will be a local council program fee increase. If you think about for 2020, initially we had announced a program fee amount of $50. We then backed off of that amount significantly to try and help offset the national fee increase. But doing that for this year came at a pretty significant cost from an operating standpoint in terms of us being able to deliver programs and service. So it's something that we're going to look back to get to the point where that original $50 fee was announced in 2021 or somewhere closer to it. So I think realistically a baseline amount you should be thinking about per youth registrant between the national registration fee and the local council program fee is probably going to be, I'm doing my math right, it's going to be about $120 per participant. So that's a safe low end number. I don't see us going significantly higher than that, but I know that was one of the questions that people were asking as they're starting their budget planning for next year and thinking about re-enrolling families and those kinds of things. So I would expect we'll have a finalized published document letter that lays everything out by middle to end of June. But since people were asking that question, I wanted to give you some information and inkling of the direction we're headed in and where we might end up. Okay, unit camping and meetings. So again, going back to the kind of roadmap reopening for the state of California, most of what, based on my reading of it, most of what we're looking at is stage 3 or stage 4 reopening. So physical meetings, activities together, things like that. So I think we're still a ways away from being able to resume physical unit meetings as well as unit campouts. And again, it's going to be based on guidance from the local health department as well as from the state. So I wouldn't be in a rush to plan a camp out for next month or anything like that. I think we're still a ways away. I'd encourage your units to continue to take advantage of our virtual camp out in place option. And I know maybe Jessica, you can share a little bit about your unit's experience having participated in those and how it's brought your youth together and the patrol method is being utilized and all that kind of stuff.
So if you haven't had a chance to participate in any of the unit virtual camps that have been happening so far, the camp-ins, there have been 2 that our council has organized. There's 1 that the national has organized, and then councils all over the country have been organizing these. They've been having virtual scoutaromas, virtual camporees, and they're actually pretty amazing. Our unit kind of jumped on that bandwagon right away for the first one that the council did. And to be honest with you, it was really, besides the fact that we were camping in our own houses, it was no different than a normal camp out that we had. The girls all planned their meals together. They ate together. We had a piano player at our meals because one of our members plays the piano. And so she was able to do that, which we can't normally drag a piano with us when we go camping. They toured each other's campsites by the use of their phones, kind of touring around. We've had rank advancements done where we actually had somebody do an edge method about how to wrap an ankle and sign off on some rank requirements that way. These camp-ins are actually really allowing the youth to go ahead and plan and carry out an activity just like they would if they were out somewhere. They're doing kind of fun things with an oath that they're taking in terms of, hey, even though your bed is upstairs, you might be more comfortable inside. You're going to promise to sleep in your tent, sleep in your hammock, whatever it is that you've constructed in your backyard or on your patio. And it's actually been pretty amazing. So, they're kind of happening pretty regularly in terms of how the larger programs are operating. The national camp-in had all-day programming done via Facebook Live for really amazing guest speakers, and we had, astronauts. I did a movie-making session on there. We had Steve Wozniak joined us. I mean, it was kind of incredible. So I would highly recommend looking outside of the box, since we aren't going to be able to go out just yet. And the way things are going, we're not going to be able to go out for a little while. And we don't want to deprive our youth of that camping experience, especially as National's kind of coming to grip with things, and they've now allowed some camp-in nights to count for some rank requirements, some OA eligibility. Those are kind of changing on a daily basis as we get deeper into this. So that was sort of an experience that I wanted to share with you guys, and sort of, definitely encourage you to think outside of the box. Even though you can't go to the normal spot that you're used to going, there's a lot of stuff that you can be doing.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. I muted myself there because there was lots of background singing that I didn't want everybody to have to enjoy. All right, I'm looking at some of our group chat questions, so I'm going to just start answering them as they were kind of submitted in order. So a question from Kathy Patton in Reyes W District. I have a reservation the last week of September for Camp Giuseppe. Will the closure continue through the fall? I think it's too early to be able to answer that truthfully, Kathy. It's based on construction. So currently the well at Giuseppe is not operable, which means we don't have the ability to pump water and fill the tank, which truthfully is more of an issue for fire suppression and concerns that we have about that. So we have a contractor that we've been able to retain to start work on the well, and we're optimistic that we'll be able to get things functioning. But I can't promise you yet that camp will be open in the fall. But what I can promise you is that the camping department will be communicating with some level of notice so that you're not surprised if there was some reason where we'd have to modify or adjust your reservation.
The next question here is from Steve. As for July Camp Whitsett, is there a date when the final decision will be made, whether it happens or does not?
Sure. So I think as we start to work through the summer and weeks, we'll start looking at a week by week kind of rolling calendar or basis. And again, it's going to vary from camp to camp. The important thing to remember is that we've got properties in different jurisdictions. So Tulare County versus Los Angeles County, the burden of submitting a plan, communicating with staff, and coming up with a way to operate is different. So if I had a crystal ball, I would be more optimistic about Camp Whitsett operations, just given that Tulare County has a much lower rate of infection and is lower, not as populous, and people actually pick up the phone when you call at the health department and talk to you. So I don't have a drop dead date, but it will be on a kind of a rolling calendar basis. And so we're looking usually 3 to 4 weeks out from the week of your reservation to try and give you some guidance or information.
Okay. The next question I have here, will have limiting summer camp program potentially impact any loss of use insurance claims? Question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jessica. I'll take that one unless you want to answer it. But so as a council, we do have business interruption insurance for our council camp operations. And so that is a consideration that's factoring into our decision making. One of the challenges with our current policy is that we don't have the ability to open one week, shut down the next week, reopen the week after that. So we're in a position where once we open, that's kind of the end of our claim period. Or if we close, then we're closed. So that's part of why we're looking at it on a week by week basis. Is that we do want to take insurance as one of the considerations from a financial standpoint, a financial health standpoint of the council. Obviously, our registrants are, having multiple options of how they can either move the reservation, adjust the reservation, or receive a refund. But as a council, as a business, we want to try and make ourselves whole as best we can, utilizing the insurance policies that we have in place.
There's one here that I think Jessica and I can both answer for Andrew. Have there been any camp-ins for Cub Scouts? They seem generated towards older scouts more. I know for our council one, a lot of it is we kind of put the program stuff on the units. So we gave plenty of resources on the website for both packs and for troops. So that you guys can do your programs that way. And I will say from the last one we probably had more packs participate than we did troops, and we had over 400 registrants. So there definitely are some of those options. Outside of that, Jessica, you may have some other that you've seen. I have not seen too many yet.
I would say that the overall, the camp-ins are being, I think because they're used to older scouts going out camping more, that's sort of the perception of why it's more Scouts BSA. I think the farther we've gotten into this, we've sort of adapted, and I say we as the bigger scouting community, adapted our programming a little bit to be able to sort of use what you can. So if you're a Cub Scout pack and you're interested in planning a camp out like you would your own, there's resources for you to tap into. Everything that the National Camp-In did is actually archived on scouting.org/camp-in. So all of that material is there available for you to be able to pull down and use with your programming. And if you think outside of the box and get a little creative as den leaders and as cub masters to put a program together, I think you can utilize that programming to help your cubs do some camping. So I think we just all have to get creative, and we need to sort of step outside and be just ahead of the game in terms of what is there for us. But more Cub Scout programming is coming out as we have been getting further along into this that I've been seeing.
I'd also say if you do have some problems or you're trying to figure out how to do your Cub Scouting programming from a virtual aspect, reach out to your district executive. They will be able to help you out. Either they may have resources themselves, or they'll at least know which packs in their district are very active and have a whole plan and are doing good stuff to maybe put you in contact with as well. So moving on, this is probably for Andrew. Will it be strong recommendation to not meet, or will it be mandated by the council?
So I would say we're going to base guidance on meeting off public health department officials. So that'll be a combination of city, county, and state stuff. So if the government is saying we can't run program and meet physically, then we won't be doing it. If there's flexibility, or if you take appropriate precautions, then we'll issue guidelines along how you can meet. If you want to meet, this is how you can do it, or you can continue to meet virtually. So we'll be reinforcing whatever the messaging is from state and local health authorities.
Okay.
I believe Andrew will also, all of the charter partners, you know, a lot of people meet in churches, a lot of people meet in schools, and so all of that is going to be mandated as well by state and government. If your church can't open, then clearly there's no meeting room for you.
That's a great point.
All right, moving on. When we move to stage 3 and 4, and we can have group meetings again, if someone were to get sick, would BSA be liable? And have you heard anything about those concerns? I'm asking because Governor just said that COVID-19 cases can be workman's comp claims with no proof, needed that this is contracted at work or got at work. Okay. It was a long one.
Sure, no worries. So I'll give you a quick insurance primer from Boy Scouting. So there's two different types, or generally two different types of insurance that you should be aware of. So if you are a registered leader, you're a registered adult volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America, you have primary general liability insurance, which means if someone sues you because you are a leader, you are covered by our general liability insurance policy. And the fact that it's primary means that our policy pays first, so to speak, or is kind of the first line of insurance for you as a leader if someone were to file a suit against you. The other insurance policy we have what's called accident and sickness insurance, and that's something that all of our registered adult volunteers and also scouts also have. And so that is a secondary insurance policy. So if you get sick or you have an accident while participating in scouting, you have your own personal insurance. That insurance is primary. This policy would pay on a secondary basis for those types of claims. If an individual doesn't have insurance, then our accident and sickness insurance becomes their primary insurance. That being said, it is an accident and sickness insurance policy. So my understanding at this time is that hypothetically, if someone were to have a COVID-related claim as an illness, it would be covered.
There's a couple questions that are kind of merged into one, so I will merge them into one, and I can probably help answer this. For applications, if you have applications, whether they're merit badge based or new youth or transfer youth or new adults, what you will do is get those filled out with all the signatures. Digital signatures do work right now. And you will send those over to your district executive with information on how they can get payment if they're new to scouting, whether it's a credit card authorization form or on your units account if you have money on it. Get it to your district executive. They will then work with Andrew to get those applications processed with National. It will take a little extra time, but it is something out there. And the same goes, if you have merit badge applications, work with your district executive. They can get the signatures and talk to the right people for all of those approvals. So.
And just to tag on that, so we are processing and posting registration on a daily basis. So we're working with shared services or locally to process and post both non-unit registrants, merit badge counselors, et cetera, as well as transfers, recharters, all that kind of stuff.
So this one goes, even if camp is open for the summer, if a unit does not feel comfortable attending, can they get a refund?
I'm gonna say that's probably, I'd have to leave final interest to the camping department on that one. I believe the answer to that is yes, although of course we'd prefer to try and work with you to transfer your reservation to next summer rather than issue refunds to everybody. But I imagine at the end of the day, we'll work with you folks.
On this one here, some scouts are having COVID-19 delays, lack of progress in general, and getting authorizations from beneficiaries for Eagles. Seems like this could go for a while. Can scouts obtain extensions so they don't age out? If so, what's the process?
So I believe, Andrew, those questions as we are moving forward and length of time is going to be happening at a national level. Would that be safe to say in terms of there's already been a slight extension granted for circumstances that the Council Advancement Committee will look at if they can't get into a place to do their project, if there's something to that effect. It's being done on a case-by-case basis at the moment. But I think as this goes on further, the national is kind of changing as they go. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. I'll add a little bit more. I apologize. My reindeer was injured and there was lots of consternation about it. I didn't want to share with everybody. So currently there is an extension request form. It's available on the national website, or if you just Google Eagle Scout extension request, you'll find the PDF form. That form should be submitted by any scout who is nearing age 18 and has not been able to complete all of their projects or merit badge work due to COVID-related delays, which could be, for instance,
So I think what Andrew is trying to say, there is a process that's going right now. They are working on case-by-case basis on delays, what it is. Like the scout should submit as much information as possible. I can't get in to do my project. My beneficiary I can't get a hold of, they're shut down. And the Council Advancement Committee and the National Advancement Committee are looking at those. They are taking this all in, looking at it. So yes, there is. Whether that expands, that I think is yet to be determined in terms of how long we keep going.
And if I can add, just because I've been working on the Crescent Bay side of this, on Eagle projects, the submission for the application they refer to from the website, please turn it in with an Eagle project proposal, preferably signed off, because as I was told by our advancement chair who's signing these, he can't grant an extension for things that could be done. So a project proposal can be completed. A project can be said, okay, I'm planning to do this when I can do it. But if you haven't done that much, he won't grant the extension. So he wants to see that as much information as he can. He also said to me in an email that merit badges are not extendable if they could be done through some way, alternate requirements that are in the merit badge, or something else. He said, so you have to look at all of those bars. It's at the moment a 90-day extension past your 18th birthday is the automatic without taking the matter further to national. So keep that in mind, that this has to do with the 90-day. And the last thing I'll add is it is necessary to turn in and make this request before the scout turns 18.
There's a couple camping related questions. When it comes to extending past their current end date, if they can operate, we're going to leave that. The camping department will be putting that out there. So if you want to ask them more specifically, I would recommend emailing camping@bsa-la.org, because Andrew and I and Jessica can't talk for the camping department tonight. So for Cub Day Camp, there is talks, and they are working on a virtual-based day camp. I believe more information about that should be coming out shortly, but they are working on a virtual-based day camp for Scouts, which includes having activities and a way to get supplies to people to do those said activities. So that is in the works. Is National operating? Our unit had a Scout become Eagle in February and has still not been processed.
I would say let's send an email to Josh or myself, and we'll get to the bottom of that specific instance. But yeah, the National Council is still operating on a limited basis. We'll figure out where whatever went missing, and we'll get it rectified.
Does the district have plans to help units with recruiting during this crisis, being that many schools may still be closed in the fall and beyond?
I'm really glad you asked that question, whoever that was. That is a fantastic question. So we have kind of a small task force working on that. We're working, kind of my guidance to that group was, assuming that we are not able to recruit as we have normally done for the last 100 years, how are we going to facilitate enrolling new families in scouting and share what we're doing? So part of their guidance was, if we weren't able to do classroom talks, if we weren't able to do flyers at schools, if we weren't able to do analog sign-up nights where we're having tables and doing open houses and sharing information, how might we get the word out and encourage families to participate in scouting? So we are looking at a myriad of different options, everything from virtual sign-up nights where we might work together utilizing Zoom or another platform on a geographic region basis to facilitate sign-up night, where families would come into a general session and then would be assigned to a breakout room with a unit leader for a specific unit to hear all about what that unit is doing, their calendar, their program, their leadership, their meeting schedule. We would bring everybody back together for kind of a close-up, and then everybody who participates in one of those would receive an email at the end of the sign-up night with the link to that unit's online application to be able to register and join scouting. So we're looking at both the actual facilitation sign-up process. We're looking at how we're going to get the word out about those types of things. Everything from, press releases in newspapers and yard signs, signage, banners, grocery store rack cards, putting stickers on meals that are being provided by local school districts to go home to families. We're looking for ideas. There's no bad ideas at this point. There's lots of opportunities. So if whoever asked that question is interested in learning more, or potentially has some ideas, or wants to be part of that group, by all means, please shoot Josh or I a note, and we'll get you engaged in that process. But it's something that we're keenly aware of, and we know now more than ever that our local units will need more support. We'll need tools and resources in order to be successful and sustain scouting.
And I would challenge everyone too to use this as an opportunity in terms of, you now don't have competition from sports or other activities that might have been taking place otherwise. And if you are doing a camping event or just a fun activity at home event, this is the kind of thing you can invite your neighbor or friend that normally is busy doing this sport to sort of see what scouting is like. Put together a little package, be creative in your units, what it is that your unit is proud of, and put together a little recruiting package and kind of show that to these prospective kids that we have kind of at our disposal, because we don't have conflicts going on the way we normally do during a really busy school season.
And Jessica, I think this next question is good for you. Status of NYLT.
So our NYLT staff, and we have an incredible NYLT staff gathered, is still working very hard. We were aware of the GSEFO closure, and we did send out a letter to all of our registered participants so far to kind of keep them updated as to what's going on. We have an alternate location identified for the summer if we are able to operate during the summer. That being said, NYLT, we are very conscious of safety concerns, and we want to make sure that we give our participants, both youth and our participants that are all youth, because our staff is youth as well, we want to make sure we give them the best experience. So if it doesn't look like from a health standpoint we can operate this summer, we have an alternate date chosen later on in the fall. And if that, for some reason, we can't make, then we will push again a couple months out. But we have not canceled the course. We are just kind of moving the ball down the field as we need to, and still developing the material with our staff that is hard at work at it. So we will keep our participants updated as soon as we know we're following the same guidelines as the council in terms of health. And right now, we can't operate at the moment. We're it doesn't affect our June dates, but we sort of have alternate dates identified. So hopefully that answers the question. And we were very transparent in terms of keeping everybody up to date on how those dates are progressing.
Great. The next one is about advancement. So basically, units should still be processing advancement like you normally would when it comes to the scouts doing it and getting it put into either Scout Book with approvals from the appropriate people on the unit, or using Internet Advancement 2.0 and submitting your advancement reports that way. So that's how advancements are still being done. Andrew mentioned earlier that we will work with you guys on attempting to get those advancements purchased. You'll just need to reach out, basically create a list of everything you need, reach out to your district executive, and they will work with Andrew and seeing what we can fulfill from our shops at this time. So there's that one. And then there's a question, Scout Saturday Live. Yes, the plan is to continue it. We know a lot of people are having fun from it and are enjoying it. Because this one said, my pack loves it, and one of my Cubs got 4 members of his class to watch, and now they're interested in Cub Scouts. And that's definitely something we like to hear, and we definitely encourage to tell your Scouts to get their friends to watch too, especially because every week is a little different and different fun things going on. But yes, the plan is to continue that. And we've actually already been talking, how can we continue this when we're back to normal and still doing these, and maybe including on-site, ad activities and stuff.
Let's get that Cub Scout or recruiter patch. Okay, whoever's sending out Scout Saturday Live info and getting people interested in Scouts, we'll get them a patch for that.
Yeah. Just quickly, because Andrew's mentioned it, I've put my email in chat. So if you have anything, just respond back. I can send it over to Andrew as well. And then James wanted me to remind people. So yes, leader knots are still being processed. So make sure you fill those out and get those to the appropriate people for your district. If you're unsure who that is, then get it to your district executive, and they will get it to the appropriate people to at least get those put in the system properly. Okay.
Real quick, my Scout's the one who he got during his Zoom classroom meeting. He's in the 4th grade. He got the whole teacher to make a big announcement about it. So all 36 kids heard about it. And they all said they were going to get on, but I know 4 of them did for sure. And now I got 4 parents talking about Scouts. It's been a real good recruiting thing for us. Best thing so far.
That's great to hear. That is fantastic.
Okay, the next one. Has anybody planned a virtual court of honor?
I have not anecdotally as yet heard of anyone doing it. I do believe I saw something come out on Brian on Scouting or Scouting Magazine today about a scout who did his Eagle Court of Honor virtually. So it's not without precedent, and certainly something that a unit could look at doing.
And I will say, I'll go ahead and take this because we talked about it at our committee meeting last night. We are, depending on the time, we are going in that direction if the time moves on a little bit longer where we can't meet in person. And so we sort of have plans in place to do a virtual Court of Honor, to be able to celebrate and then have a safe pickup point for the awards at the later date. But you can still do all of the honoring in terms of with whatever platform you use. Zoom's been very successful for us. And so we are planning one. If it comes to that, we're trying to hold out a little bit longer to see what happens in person. And we are planning a sort of, camping experience, a little bit of a longer camping experience with our troop also. So we're anticipating some more things being earned at that. But it's definitely in the forefront. I think we all need to be thinking ahead to make sure that we are keeping everybody safe, and we can get super, super creative.
So
it looks like
I have a comment on that, Jessica. Our troop is in the process of planning an Eagle Court of Honor as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll do is we'll see how it goes, and then try to provide that information back to you if you want to disseminate that information to everybody else.
When are you planning that for?
Well, we're actually planning it within the next couple of weeks.
Because we were looking at one on the 31st of this month. I'd love to hear what you're planning.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it too.
I tell you what.
And if you're able to have guests, I would love to come in and watch too, so I could help disseminate more information as well. So,
all right.
I would enjoy seeing that.
I mean, we're going to do the thought right now is to ship out something like cupcakes to everybody, so we can all have celebrate and put a candle in it or something. You can do an awful lot of the ceremony on Zoom. If you look at some of the ceremonies, there's a lot of it that's structured very well for Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
we'll
with the share content, if you do, if your courts of honor normally have like a recap movie or a slideshow, you can do shared content that way in terms of showing sort of what the kids have been doing, and then move into your awards part of it as well. So a lot of great ways that you can kind of put together a multimedia presentation. There's a really great feature on Zoom too, where you can do just record yourself talking over something. So if you have a scout you want to honor and have a slideshow and you want to talk over them, have the scoutmaster, the cubmaster talk about a particular scout or an event, you can pre-record that, and that works pretty successfully, and kind of seam that together as a movie and then show that virtually as well.
All right, excellent.
it sounds like from chat there's a couple other units that are currently planning virtual Court of Honors to Troop 10. And there's another one here, Troop 642. So it sounds like it's a thing.
Yeah, if there's interest there, perhaps what we might do is set a separate meetup on that topic, and we can have somebody on the staff kind of help facilitate or proctor that, and maybe we can have some guided discussion and best practices for those units that are interested. So be on the lookout for that in the next little while. We'll try and put something together to help have those conversations.
Right.
And then going in with this, someone put about a virtual bridging. We do want to remind people that a bridging ceremony is more of a thing to do to hurrah everyone, but it's actually not required for the scout to move on to Scouts BSA from Cub Scouts. They just need to make sure that they've reached Arrow of Light and it's been properly put into the system, and then we can do transfer paperwork. So as cool as the bridging is, we want to make sure people understand they don't need to bridge and they can move forward with going into Scouts BSA.
And Josh, if I could chime in with that, I think especially with Cub Scouts, if you've got kids that are bridging up ranks, I know that they really enjoy the in-person ceremony to kind of get either their new, they go from tiger to wolf, they get their new hat, their new neckerchief. There are creative ways you could maybe do drop-offs in terms of, dropping off your new regalia, your new rank patch, a little message to kind of at the front door. I think people would really love to kind of see their guests, even if it's from a window. Maybe it's a sticker that is placed on the outside of the window that is still safe, that kind of says I'm acknowledging my scout. I want to give them all this celebration. And, maybe you could time that in terms of do the drop-offs and then have a recap in the afternoon of, hey, everybody's got their new regalia, their new rank, something to that effect. But I think that's the kids are really enjoying little surprises being left. One of our units, somebody in my unit actually left me a painted rock which was really wonderful outside of my door. So it's like those little tokens right now are really cherished. And I think we can do that for the kids in terms of bridging, especially Cub Scouts.
Someone was asking ideas page for virtual scouting. I know we have some stuff on the council website where we're putting together resources from other places. Facebook is another great place that we're seeing from all over the place. And then I would say check your email, because National seems to be sending something out every 3 days about what some places are doing for virtual scouting. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're still struggling on it, you can always reach out to your district executive. They can help you out or get you in contact with units that both on the PAC and in the Scouts BSA that are doing good stuff.
National also has kind of a neat program that they're doing, these little scouting at home clips, and those are coming out once a week. And there's kind of fun resources from all over the country. And a lot of times that sparks us out here. We think of sort of the way we do scouting in one direction, but somebody back east might have another way of thinking about some things. And so those have been really helpful to see. And those are coming out through Facebook at their scouting at home sort of hashtag.
Someone wrote, we're holding our bridging once meetings again. The Scouts don't want to miss out on the 100-foot monkey bridge, but those Scouts are now in scouting or halfway through their scout rank at this time. So, someone asked about getting magazines, both Boys Life and Scouting Magazine. I don't know, unless Andrew, you have more. I know I got something in the mail a week ago that it had 2 months worth of magazines, so they may just be behind, or they're lagging.
I believe stuff is still being sent, although it may be a little bit delayed between post and then some initial issues with distribution. So I did apologize, just to backtrack a touch. I did screen share the council website real quick with everybody, just to make sure you're aware. So as we get information, whether it be FAQs from the National Council, whether it be resources that we're made aware of, we are posting stuff on the council webpage using these 4 different tabs. And the other piece to be aware of is if you look at the events, offers, and news at the top header and click on that, all of our different programmatic events that we're running in the coming weeks and months, as soon as we have information and we put a post on the website, it auto deposits onto this kind of repository area. So it's a great place to just periodically check. Obviously, we're posting stuff on Facebook as well. We are sending out email newsletters through Constant Contact as well. So please like us on Facebook, like your district page, like the council page, so that you get those events showing up on your feed as we're posting them. And then also, do look for emails from Constant Contact. If you find yourself not getting any newsletters or information or posts from the council, send your district executive an email, and we'll make sure that you're either added to the list, or if, no one would ever do it, but if you unsubscribed because we sent you too many annoying emails 3 years ago, we can get you re-added to the appropriate list so that you're getting your information.
So question here, how are people doing elections for unit leadership?
So unless anybody has done that yet, I might offer a suggestion, both utilizing a breakout room feature or a safely moderated youth protection text chain. If you have a sort of election procedure where you either have a paper ballot or the kids close their eyes, they raise their hand, depending on how troops do that, you might set up a text that's moderated and make sure everybody's got access to a phone system. It's going to take a little bit of creativity, but you could have whoever's running for whatever position do their speeches, sort of put all of your candidates up, and then have each scout sort of text, their vote in terms of a sort of electronic voting system. And that could work with the anonymity if you do it that way. There is the raise your hand feature in terms of the on the video conferencing, but you can see those. So that just depends on if your troop is comfortable with something like that. So unless anybody has done that, that might be a suggestion of a way to kind of still be able to hold an election.
We've already done that, and it worked extremely well. We used the voting app, and the scouts each got on Zoom and gave a speech as to why they should be elected to a position. And then it was all done electronically after that. So it worked very well.
We did the same thing. We just had them texting to 2 adults in the unit at the same time and then collected the votes that way.
Just as good.
And then a unit has talked about using SurveyMonkey for votes. And I have another person saying that if you have the Zoom account, so if you're the host, you can do a survey in it that is kept anonymous to the users that are polling in the survey. A poll, sorry. And then someone mentioned, I guess a press release went out yesterday. Scouting Magazine is going to be moving to an online format, and Boys Life will continue to be delivered by hard copy. So I have not seen this press release.
That's accurate. Yeah, that was really.
Yeah.
I apologize. I thought the initial question was just about Boys Life, but yeah, Scouting Magazine for registered adult leaders is going to be going digital for future dissemination. They'll also have a more robust web presence, so they'll be updating content on a daily basis rather than doing a printed periodical. But Scouts Life, Boys Life will continue to be printed and distributed to youth members.
Good job.
There's an additional resource too I want to make sure that especially our Cub Scout leaders are aware of. It is through Facebook. It's called Bsa Family Packs, and it's a great, very robust Facebook page that is really great for Cub Scout program, also great for Scouts BSA programming. If you have a female unit, that it's wonderful. But there's a lot of shared ideas on that page as well, and just look it up on Facebook, request an invite with the admin, and they'll let you in. It's pretty great, and it's all sort of run by volunteers that want to be able to sort of get all this information in one place as well.
Jessica, what was that Facebook again?
It's called BSA Family Packs. I'm going to look it up right now while we're speaking, and I'll put it in the chat for you.
There's a question, will they ever change the name of Boys Life magazine?
I'm Googling that to try and find out if there's anything official on it. So I mean, I think anecdotally, many of us, at least on the professional scouting side, have just started calling it Scouts Life, obviously, since it doesn't need to be gender specific. I would hope and anticipate that will happen somewhere down the line. I'm not 100% sure what contracts or licensing agreements or what else there is behind not changing the name yet. But I would certainly hope that moving forward, we would be more inclusive for all of our youth participants and look at having a non-gender specific name.
Mike Budinger, I think you had a question. Or not. Still muted. Okay. And Jessica's just posted the BSA Family Pack information as well on Facebook.
I'm not getting my scouting magazine with my Boys Life.
Mike, that's because your troop is not yet rechartered, but they will be soon.
What?
It's not Joel's fault. It's totally my fault. But your troop is not yet rechartered. That's why you're not getting your magazine. We'll fix that.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I can hear you, Mike. We can hear you okay. We'll get you your magazine. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
All right, folks. Well, we have about 4 minutes left in our meeting time frame, and if there are any other questions, now's a great time to ask them. Otherwise, thank you for participating in our little Q&A and joining us. We really very much appreciate it. We'll look at the future, maybe hosting these. We're trying to figure out what the level of frequency might be. So if in the comments section you want to let us know what you think in terms of how often we might do something like this and make it available to all parents and leaders, regardless of whether they're the Cub Master Committee chair, but just open it up to everyone. Please give us some feedback, and we'll take it into consideration.
I'll offer one thing too. As we get further into this, it is kind of fun to have a little bit of a fun with the play. I know our troop has gotten very creative in names in terms of quarantine, and we've sort of changed our lingo with some certain things. So I think as we keep adapting and keeping it fresh, then I think the kids are really going to respond to that. And there's a lot of laughter happening, I've noticed, in the meetings that I've been attending, especially if you guys know about Kahoot, which seems like every kid knows about in terms of their schooling, but those are great for any kind of games that the kids want to play. You can do it scouting based or not, and there's so much laughter. And we did a very successful sort of Scout versus ASM Kahoot, which was really fun to sort of see who knew more. They actually are getting a lot out of this, and I think the more that we can do for them, the better, and the more we can each support each other. And with all of the shared ideas, that's really, we're one big scouting family.
Thanks, Jessica. And I can't tell you how many anecdotes I've heard from people about how scouting has facilitated family time, family bonding, bringing family closer together. Everyone's getting to participate in scouting virtually and together. So thank you for doing that. Thank you everyone for all of your service to our youth, to our community. I appreciate you keeping the faith with us and helping us deliver scouting. So thank you so much.